Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug group.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Yes! Oh, I like it! It's up to you now! It's up to you! I like it!
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Friday. We have made it together. It is the 10th of April. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming foxsportsfm.com. This and every show on the station streams at foxsportsfm.com, and we are broadcasting live many a place, including the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Mark, top of the morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. How about yourself?
It didn't sound enthusiastic there.
Oh, good morning. How about you?
Now, that was an outstanding fake greeting. Outstanding. Now, do you have class today, or have you consummated the 4-day school week and this is it? Or we're going right to the pool at 9:05?
Well, Good Friday is today, as you well know, being the solid Irish Catholic that you are. So school is
Easter, Christmas.
School is technically closed today. They did not give assignments for Good Friday. Had they given assignments for Good Friday, we would still be done for the week. The 4-day school week has been implemented. It was roughly a 3-day school week this week because there were no Friday classes. So there are a couple of things that are assigned day of, a couple of the computer program things that we have to do for math and reading that I can't get ahead of the game. They go up per day. So we did those yesterday morning, but we were done 9:35. Started at 9:30. I mean, no. I'm
crushing this.
This is, it's kindergarten. What are you going to do? Now, her teacher's done a great job. They have video meetings twice a week. And every teacher's not the same. I've talked to other parents who aren't getting the same tight level of participation from their instructor that I'm getting from mine. So I feel incredibly grateful for my teacher, Miss Gonzalez. She is just terrific. She is enthusiastic when she does these Zoom meetings with the kids. And I've joked around with my golden apple, and it's really easy. I've got a very attentive, bright young lady. I don't have 20 at once. I have one. Right. She's mine. And she's still a little scared of me.
Well, I don't know about scared. She's still paying attention. She's still listening, and that's good. I mean, you take it for as long as you can get it.
Right.
You hope that reaches into double figures, and then you just take your chances every year.
But it is, I know how difficult it is. I would be interested to hear from any of the parents that have multiple children that may have, a couple of late grade schoolers and maybe a middle schooler. That's where I think life could become hell.
Oh, I thought you were going to say fun.
No,
you just vaulted right over the top.
No, because if you're teaching multiple kids in multiple grades, we have a friend who has twins, and her struggles just because they're not exactly at the same spot. One in one room, one in the other, trying to distract one another. And they're just both 6-year-olds. So could you imagine having, an 8, a 10, and a 12-year-old right now?
Hello.
Right. I mean, there's...
No.
So no. I have it easy. I have and I'm not bragging. She's a smart girl. Gets it from her mom. And I'm very lucky. And did I say it's kindergarten? I mean,
you did.
When I did let the teacher know the one day that the assignment wasn't there, and she said, "Hey, the kids may have inadvertently deleted a slide. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I'm not. It's identifying triangles. I think we're good here. If it were algebra and I had to learn something, there might be a problem. But when I'm doing a test, David, and the question is, how many sides on the rectangle, I think I'm good.
Well, what was the show? Are you smarter than
a fifth grader?
Fifth grader, right. So I do think that there's a cutoff for all parents where you feel pretty good forced in the situation that you're in now, as long as your child is probably in single digits. Once your child gets to double digit age-wise, there's a chance, as we found out with that game show, that many a question could be asked in which you're like, I don't know the answer to this. I'm going to have to do my homework before I start passing out others' homework. I do know you learned something, though, yesterday. All right. We follow each other on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot. You have become very active on Twitter.
The hell else am I going to do? I made an David, I made an iMovie yesterday. I had to take several videos and cut them into one video to put on Twitter. I'd never done that before. It's not very hard, but I was so bored. That's what I was doing yesterday.
Well, and then you did the one very well. And what I took out of yesterday, the lesson that I learned, is what Sean Salisbury was talking about, which is apparently the frozen Oreo is one of the 3 greatest things in the world.
Holy cow. How is it possible at 50 years old to learn something and at the same time feel like you have wasted 50 years of eating snacks? I mean, I've gone through the Oreo, the double stuff, and I do think the regular Oreo is better than the double stuff Oreo. Something that I didn't think for most of my life, because the filling now is not what I want as much as I want the cookie. And I could throw that up as a poll question right now. Oreo.
That is a poll question.
Double stuff, single stuff, right there. Debate, let's go. But here's what's amazing about this. Sean Salisbury yesterday, someone had tweeted Sean about, Sean apparently on a show, and he does mornings in Houston, apparently made a comment about frozen Oreos in milk being great. Well, one of his listeners took his advice. And Sean said, yeah, in ice cold milk, there's nothing better. And I just responded, I'm like, better than a frozen Thin Mint? And Sean's great on Twitter. Whenever David or I ask Sean anything, he is very quick to respond, whether he's on a guest on the show or not. And he says, yeah, and I love a frozen Thin Mint. Now you've got me. So right after the show, or right during the show, late in the show, I went and put 2 Oreos, snuck them away from the daughter, and put them in the freezer. There is a video to show you how to sneak the Oreos away from your kid if you want to go on Twitter, that Mark Miller. And I was completely blown away by the deliciousness of the frozen Oreo. So much so that I had to tweet Sean again about how great this was. And lo and behold,
better than frozen Thin Mints.
I'd have to go head to head, but David, it's definitely up at you put this as back-to-back 3-4 hitters, you're talking murderer's row.
So this is Yelich in front of Trout or behind Trout? It really doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter, David. That's kind of the point that we're at. Well, Sean responds to one of the many exchanges we had, and all of a sudden, Al Bernstein.
There you go.
Showbox. Former ESPN boxing guy. Al Bernstein.
Showtime guy.
Al Bernstein chimes in. Not that I need to be eating Oreos, but you've got me a little intrigued here.
There you
Amy
go.
Trask. What, former GM of the Raiders? Or what was her title? Was she general manager?
Yeah. Well, she wasn't GM, but she
player
was Al's
personnel
right-hand gal for 20 years.
Right.
Yep.
Amy Trask chimes in and says, speaking from California here, Sean, don't mean to rain on your parade, but you can't pull a frozen Oreo apart and eat the inside. I respectfully agree to disagree. Hi, guys. So, this just morphed into a little life of its own for a couple hours yesterday. And then I had to put out a little film on how to sneak the Oreos away from your daughter.
So all of a sudden, just from that alone, Mark, we have the potential of 2 poll questions in which we could, what is better, frozen Oreo,
well,
all right, or the Thin Mint,
or just have you ever had a frozen Oreo? Have you ever had a frozen Oreo?
Or we could do single Oreo, double stuffed Oreo.
Right.
Since most of us now are adults, and obviously we loved double stuffed as a kid. Listen, Mark, for years, I mean, double stuffs were more expensive. We didn't have double stuffed. There's no way. First off, we didn't have a lot of Oreos. All right, we couldn't afford snack food. All right, there was not a lot of snack food around the house. That was something you went to the grandparents for. So then you had to start asking them, hey, I heard about this double stuff thing. I don't really know if it's real, but I heard about it. All right, if you see it, Grandma, can you get some? I'm intrigued by this. And then I went over to the grandparents' house, and first time, double stuffed Oreos. So we're on to something here. If we want to go that route. Mark, I did not know how clairvoyant you were at this time yesterday. Every now and then we talk about something in which we're a day, half a day, few hours ahead of what ends up being the national topic of conversation. And some days we're 2 days behind. But yesterday, you, with a poll question, you were like, I just want to gauge where people are at in terms of sports. And if sports were to come back tomorrow, what would your attitude be towards attending a sporting event? Well, by the afternoon yesterday, the business school at Seton Hall, which is located in northern part of Jersey, released a poll that they had done, margin of error of a little less than 4%. They polled a little less than 800 people and said, hey, you're going to attend sports if they don't have a vaccine? And 72% of the general public said, no. Now, you can slice that onion a little thinner because that's just the general public. When they narrowed it down to people who call themselves sports fans. Yes, I'm a sports fan. Well, okay. Are you going to go to games without a vaccine? And 61% of sports fans said, no, I'm not. Now, I'm guessing that those polled were in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. The business school is located in the northern part of Jersey. Now, maybe they did poll people from around the country. But obviously, that's the epicenter of this thing. And my guess is that in other regions of the country, I'm guessing that the percentages would not match up. But that's their poll, which basically was the question that you were asking, although you gave 3 different outcomes.
Right. Because I believe your premise has a lot to do with people saying yes to the third option. The third option was done being a spectator. Period. And I think that is, what is Wink's, facts not fear? I think that's fear not facts. And that's okay, because I do think there are people out there who are listening right now who are genuinely far more scared than others. Sure. Everybody's human makeup is completely different, and I am not going to belittle someone because they're very scared right now, and I'm not as scared as they are. I just think that's who we are as people. So I think of the 11%, David, that voted they're done being a spectator. Now, 8% of those may be older people who, or whatever, or don't like crowds, who have just said, I'm done going to games anyhow.
Right.
I mean, I think if you just ask this question in general, will you how many games will you attend, major sporting events will you attend the rest of your life, and just, 0 to whatever, 10 to whatever, 50 or more? I think there would be a bunch of people that would be in the 0 to 10 because I know my dad got to the point as he got older, I don't want to deal with crowds. I don't like to walk that far. I think there are a lot of elements. My TV's 80 inches and it's right there, and the bathroom's right. The things you've said for years about the NFL. So I do think some of that falls into the 11%. 30% were like I am. They're running back to the stadium. So essentially 1 in 3 are saying we're ready to go. But our audience is 100% sports fans. You're not tuning in to Miller and Moulton at 6 in the morning or answering our poll question if you're not a sports fan. You don't follow us otherwise. And nearly 59% of you said, I'll wait a while. That's where David was, although you don't get that choice. For someone that will wait a while, you'll be one of the first people back in the stadium because it's your job.
Correct. Which, needless to say, has already come up in the House.
I wasn't going to ask on air, but now that you brought it up, I was going to say, how's that going over? Because I was not, I've gotten a lot better about, I know where I can go with you personally, and I was like, this could be a great question for the commercial break here. But, David, since you brought it up, how's that going over?
Well, my wife is one of those that was very concerned about this, and as early as anybody I know.
Yep.
And, in fact, we even had a little fun at my wife's expense 4+ weeks ago because she was already she was in.
Oh, I don't know if it was fun, David. I know that there at one point when she was just berating me with text when I was having a little fun with her, I had to just put the phone away. And then your phone blew up for the rest of the show. And at one time I looked over and all I saw was, tell him to stop now.
But, my wife she looked at me, I think it was yesterday, and she's like, I don't know how often I'm going to leave the house until we have a vaccine. And I'm like, hey, I get it. I do. Obviously, in what we do, and particularly in what I do, in theory, if we start playing sports again, there are certain sports that I'm going to be traveling for. NFL, potentially 2 games a week. College football on Saturdays. We've got some golf tournaments here that are rescheduled. So I have to assume they're going to take place when they are scheduled. The one thing that is interesting to me is, we're trying to figure out the earliest sporting events that have been rescheduled in this country. And I think it's the Indy 500. That's on August 23rd. Well, technically, I found out last night that, not that many people care about these events, but the U.S. Amateur and the U.S. Women's Amateur are scheduled for the middle of August and have not been rescheduled or canceled. So they're still on the docket. One's in Maryland and the other's in Oregon. And they're in back-to-back weeks in mid to late August. And they are still on the schedule. So, the USGA has canceled the Senior Open, which didn't get a lot of press, but they canceled it this year. They said, we'll see you in 2021. They moved the Women's Open to the first week of December, or I think it's the first week, maybe it's the second. And they moved the U.S. Open back 3 months into the middle part of September. But the other 2 major amateur tournaments are still on the docket, and they're for 4 months from now, which seems like a very long time, because to go back 4 months, we would be at December 10th, which, needless to say, Christmas, I think, seems like a very long time ago to many of us. I mean, Mark, 4 months ago, the Patriots were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Well,
Even
there you
with
have
the
it.
Ravens having the best record and all that, we were still thinking, well, Brady and the Patriots, they're going to be the 2 seed. They're going to get a bye. And, they'll probably be back in the Super Bowl.
David,
and obviously, none of that happened.
David, 2 months ago, I think they were the 3rd betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. So I just...
Right.
Things have been, it is a fluid situation with the NFL, David.
But interesting that our poll was 59%, correct?
Yes.
And the Seton Hall School of Business, 59% that was not going back, correct?
59% that would wait a while.
Wait a while.
And I mean, that could be the vaccine side, that could be whatever.
Right. And the Seton Hall School of Business, because as you said, you look at every person who responded to our poll as someone you would classify as a, quote, sports fan.
You have to.
Yes, I agree. And the Seton Hall School of Business had 61% of their sports fans said no until there's a vaccine. And maybe that would be classified under we're going to wait a while. So Mark, for the record, answered he would run back.
Run.
Which to me says you're going to be at a Mighty Muscles game.
Backed it up. Well, I said a sporting event.
Whoa, hello.
Backed it up yesterday because I got a call from Billy about 2:30 in the afternoon. Billy is my ticket rep. Dropped another $212 yesterday for my parking pass.
Look at that. You're just throwing money around like you've got it here.
Nothing more fun than getting a call from the Bucs season ticket department. And he asked the question, so you come to a lot of games. When's the last time you've been to one? And I started laughing. I said, I don't think I've been to Ray J in at least 5 years for a game. Last game I went to was an Eagles-Bucs game, so you can tell me when that. And he starts laughing. He goes, well, what brought you back? And he knew what he was. It was
great.
Did
he start laughing?
Oh, he could barely get it out. He could barely get it out. I said I really like Coach Arians. I like what he's doing there. And he laughed even. We had a nice little bit. And he just said, hey, I get it. I thought
you should have said the uniforms. I bought the tickets because I thought we were going back to the creamsicles. So, Chris Godwin. That's it. CG12. That's why I bought the tickets. Absolutely. I am wondering, though, do you get a refund if the preseason games are canceled? This is something just to keep in mind with the NFL. The Hall of Fame game and the Hall of Fame this year in particular is a really big deal to the league. The league has said they're going to release their schedule by May 9th. So sometime, 2 weeks after the draft, at some point during that time frame, they said they're going to release their schedule. So Mark, if there's a preseason game that is played, or at least a ceremony that is held, you figure that the NFL is really going to want to have before opening kickoff of the season. You would think they want to have a Hall of Fame weekend of some kind.
Yes.
Whether the game is played, whether fans are allowed to show up, because, you think about it. You've got 200-plus Hall of Famers, and I'm assuming they're allowed to bring some of their family members to go back. Then you've got the 20 that they're enshrining this year, and obviously they're going to bring their families. Just in and of itself right there, that's got to be over 1,000 people.
Oh, for sure. And
so,
by the way, this was the Steelers playing the Cowboys in the Hall of Fame game. The two most storied franchises in the sport. There's no fans of either team that would make it to Canton for that induction, would there be?
Well, and story could be replaced with popular. We could debate the story.
Well, okay, maybe they're not the
five, but
I understand that the Patriots have now won more, and I get it, but it's tough for people our age to not go Cowboys-Steelers.
Yeah, I think if you were to ask the networks, okay, pick two teams, whose games you'd want to show, it would either be Cowboys-Steelers or Cowboys-Packers. Quite frankly, that's where the ratings are. Miller and Moulton. 479-5551 is our number to chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. 479-5551. 25 minutes past the hour. The starting five is next. Thanks so much for making us part of your day. It is Friday, April 10th. You're almost to this week's finish line. Thanks for letting us help get you there on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.